What if I told you that your favorite historical hero, the one you learned about in school, the one whose statue stands in your city square, is a lie? Not a total lie, perhaps, but a carefully curated mask. We are taught to categorize history into a simple binary: the heroes and the villains. We're told that the good guys did the right thing and the bad guys did the evil thing. But what if the person you consider a savior was also a monster? And what if the only reason you don't see them that way is because you've been tricked by a psychological flaw in your own brain? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the halo effect, the reason we are terrified to look at the truth, and why the history we worship is often built on the silence of the people we chose to forget. The halo effect, identified by psychologist Edward Thorndike in 1920, is a cognitive bias that acts as a mental shortcut. If you perceive someone as having one strong, positive trait, like being a courageous wartime leader, your brain automatically assumes they are good people in all other areas. It creates a glow that blinds us to the horns. We don't just excuse their bad behavior, we often refuse to see it, or we rationalize it as a product of their time. This is a defense mechanism for our own comfort. It keeps our world feeling orderly and our national myths feeling sacred. Take Winston Churchill. In the West, he is the man who stood alone against Nazi Germany, the voice of democracy when the light of freedom was being extinguished. His halo is protected by the crushing weight of that victory. But this is where the halo effect becomes a trap. When we look at Churchill, we compare him to the ultimate horn figure of the 20th century, Adolf Hitler. Because Hitler is the personification of absolute evil, anyone who fought him, including Churchill, is instantly cast as a champion of absolute good. Because Churchill was the antithesis of Hitler's fascism, we feel a psychological need to scrub Churchill's record clean. We overlook his staunch white supremacist views and his role in the 1943 Bengal famine, where millions starved due to policies that prioritized war supplies over human lives. We tell ourselves, he saved the world from the monster, so he cannot be one. But this is a binary trap. You can be the person who stopped a monster and still be a person who caused immense suffering. Then there is Christopher Columbus. For generations, he was the ultimate halo figure, the intrepid explorer who opened the new world. He is the cornerstone of a narrative about curiosity and human ambition. But the historical record tells a story of catastrophic human cost. From his own journals and the accounts of his contemporaries, we know he presided over the dismantling of indigenous lives. He established systems of forced labor, slavery, and violent repression. When you challenge the hero status of a figure like Columbus, it feels like an attack on our very identity, on the story of who we are. We aren't just protecting a man. We are protecting a narrative we've built our societies upon. We fear that if we admit these heroes were flawed, we lose the foundation of our own origin story. So, why do we forgive some figures while condemning others? It comes down to this. History is the ultimate luxury of the victor. We tell the stories of those who survived, those who conquered, and those who built the systems we live in today. When we look back, we are not looking at the past as it truly was. We are looking at a curated museum of our own values. We celebrate these victories because they are the foundation of our current comfort. But there is a heavy, quiet cost to this. By choosing to ignore the bad things done by our good people, we essentially bury the victims of those heroes a second time. The conclusion, an invitation to truth. We fear that if we admit these heroes were flawed, we lose the ability to have heroes at all. But that is a false, cowardly choice. True history is not a fairy tale. It is an honest accounting. People are complex. We can admit that Churchill was essential in defeating fascism, and acknowledge that his imperialist policies were catastrophic. We can admit that Columbus was a brilliant navigator, and hold him accountable for the suffering he enabled. History does not require us to tear down every statue or burn every book. It requires us to grow up. It requires us to hold multiple, often painful truths at the same time. The next time you feel the urge to put someone on a pedestal, look for the shadow they cast. A more accurate history is always a more uncomfortable one, but it is the only one that is actually real. The victory is written by the winners, yes, but the truth is found in the silence of those we chose to forget. And it is time, finally, to stop worshiping the victory and start listening to the silence.